Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy October 15th, 2025. Hope everybody out there is having a wonderful day, whether you're here in the Tampa Bay area or abroad. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. A big thank you to our partners here on the program, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. Give them a shout, 813-244-0956 for your residential and commercial needs. And of course, Evra Health, evrahealth.org, all the things that they have going on over there. Go check them out, EVARA health.org. And for both those companies, when you go check them out, tell them that you heard it right here. On the Recher podcast, we have our Evra Health injury report tomorrow at 12:30 with Dr. Rodriguez. That is quickly becoming our most popular segment on the program right here. So you really don't want to miss that one. If you have questions, comments, concerns about your favorite players that are dealing with an injury, my guy will be able to help you out, Dr. Rodriguez. So yes, shout out to our guys and gals at Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, and of course, Evra Health. If they're partners here with the Recher podcast, I got a lot of love for them. I only deal with the best here in the Tampa Bay area. What's going on back here? I got the suit suited and booted. I got all my suits over here to the right. I can't show you guys quite yet, but all my suits to the side over here in the podcast room. Plenty to get into on the program today. We usually are joined by our good pal Erik Erlendsson from lightninginsider.com at 1 o'clock. He's got to join us a little bit earlier today, so he's going to hop on at 12:15. We're going to talk some Buccaneer football as well. Also, the Dodgers turning back the clock as they take a 2-0 lead in the NLCS over the Milwaukee Brewers last night. How are they doing that? And then why we need to be smart and why we need to be aware of what's going on with USF and the Bucks, right? It's a little bit of a mini golden era right now when it comes to our teams. I get that. But there's also been some signs that things could go sideways here. And you know me, I lean more optimistic than pessimistic, but I always land on realistic. There's some warning signs. Some warning signs. You got to be smart. And you also have to clean things up if you're the Buccaneers and the USF Bulls. We'll talk about that at 1 o'clock. And then at 1:15, now that it's a couple of days later, my thoughts on James Franklin getting fired by Penn State. Now, there's some people that are going to look at it and say, man, I can't believe he got fired. Look at his record. Look at what he was able to do. He went to the college football playoff semifinals last year. And then some other people would say, hey, it was justified. You got to beat the big boys if you want to be a big boy and you want to sit at that table. And I'll give you my 2 cents at 1:15 today. Again, follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Like and subscribe. We're trying to get up to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're up to 1,860 or so. So yeah, share this on your social media platforms, wherever you're consuming the product. I don't know if you guys saw it yesterday, but the conversation that Matt Matera and I had from Pewter Report, he joined us on the program. That's up on our page, as well as the chat with Jim Lauk right here on the channel. When Matt compared Baker Mayfield to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Really great conversation yesterday on the program. So I posted that video, put some pictures on there as well with Stone Cold, with Baker Mayfield. Go check that out. Share that on your social media platforms. Baker equals Stone Cold. Really, really fun conversation on the program yesterday. I always want to hear from you guys and gals. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there in the chat. If you want to join us via the video chat, we always welcome you to do that, whether it's on the phone or on your laptop. StreamYard.com/DCEAPBP2GG. Click on that link in the chat, and you can join in on the conversation like Jake Kobe saying, what? 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 And breaking news here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And listen, we were going to talk about that. Here, we'll get to that in a second. I want to get these comments real fast. David Terry, Jay, all take 3 points on a 2-game win trip all day, but Vazzy starting out 0-3 is a bit concerning. Yeah, and again, I'm not necessarily blaming it on him. You're looking at situations where Hedman's not picking up the player on the first goal. He doesn't clear the puck on the second goal. And then Anthony Cirelli loses his guy in front, Jacob Chikrin, on the third goal. Like, what more can you want from Andrei Vasilevsky? Again, when people talk about physicality and they talk about toughness, like that's the problem with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Look at the game so far this year. Are they getting pushed around? Are they getting bullied? I don't see that. Defensively, they're losing their minds. They're not paying attention. That's the problem. Don't let anybody tell you anything else. Janet Best in the house. Robert's not happy. Our guy Hammer's here. Carlos Baserva as well. Ask Doc if you think J Double will be ready for game 1. I'm not asking him that. What's good? Jay Recher fam. Jay should have went over and all y'all should have won. Yeah, you're probably right, my good friend. Freddie failed me last night. What's up to Dolan? What? Jacobian in the house. Great conversation yesterday, Jay. Perfect comparison for Baker. You got that right, my friend. Bart Hill and Dolan, you got that right, my friends. All right. Just got this word from the Buccaneers. Jamel Dean named NFC Defensive Player of the Week. An interception, a sack, a forced fumble, 4 tackles, one of them for loss, a pass defense, and a quarterback hit. First corner to record each an interception, sack, and forced fumble in a single game since Week 7 of the 2024 season. And the first NFC defender at any position to accomplish that feat in 2025. His sack was the first of his NFL career. Jamel Dean. Congratulations to Jamel Dean. NFC Defensive Player of the Week. What a great job he's done so far this season when he's been healthy. Very happy with Jamel Dean. Very happy. And I want to talk about some of the unsung heroes that we have for our Tampa Bay Buccaneers so far this year. Jamel's one of them. Rashad White's another one as well. And I ask you guys, who do you think is the unsung hero or unsung heroes of our Tampa Bay Buccaneers so far? Who are some of those guys that have been flying under the radar? And of course, Baker's going to get the love. Emeka Ibuka's going to get the love, and deservedly so. But I look at a guy like Rashad White. I look at a guy like Ben Bredesen, who the first couple of weeks had to play center. Now he's back to guard. You know, all the love for Graham Barton and Tristan Wirfs, and deservedly so. But Ben Bredesen is a guy that battles his ass off. He's well-liked in the locker room. I want to show love to a guy like that today. I want to show love to Sean Tucker and Cam Johnson and what they've been able to do in the return game. Showing love to a guy like Rashad White. Coming out there, and even though some people wanted to get rid of him before the season started, look at how good that he's been. Look at how good that he's been for this team. Where would they be without him? Patrick brings up a good one. Sterling Shepard. I like it, Pat. Sterling Shepard's another guy that you're not going to hear much about, but he is that ultimate safety blanket for Baker Mayfield. Their relationship going back to their Oklahoma days, when we need to see Baker make a, where Baker is out there and he needs to make a throw. A lot of times it's on third down. It's in the red zone. Just that knack to find Sterling Shepard. I love it. Love what he's been able to bring to the table. And you've been leaning on him a lot more than you initially probably thought going into this season, because you looked at it and said, because remember, there's people before the season starting saying, Sterling Shepard, I don't know where he's going to fit in. Is he even going to make the team? Because you thought going into the year originally it was going to be Evans and Godwin and McMillan and Ibuka. Look at Sterling Shepard. At times he's been the number 1 or number 2 receiver on this team. Hammer, Jacob Parrish has been everywhere. Cam Johnson returning kicks is electric too. Got that right. That's Dean's only downfall is availability. Love the guy when he plays. Greg Gaines, good job, Jake. Dude has played huge filling in for Kalijah Cansey. I know what you meant there. That's another guy. Greg Gaines is out there busting his ass. And then when you talk about unsung heroes, you talk about guys that really aren't getting a lot of the credit. You don't hear their names very often. I mean, Servassier Dennis, for all the talk about how great he is in coverage, and I still think he leaves a little bit to be desired right there. I think what he's been able to do in the blitz packages and what he's been able to do against the run, I mean, he's really done a great job in that aspect as well. So you're getting these guys that are filling in. And as much as we talk about Baker and as much as we talk about Emeka Ibuka, the depth for this team. I think is another huge reason. That's why I wanted to highlight Jason Light the other day and highlight a guy like Josh Grizzard. And how about Coach McClendon, the wide receivers coach that keeps all these guys are ready to perform when their number is called. It's huge. Lady Evil heading to Daytona right now playing Biketoberfest. Should be a blast. Shout out to all the Jaybirds. That's awesome, buddy. Have a good time. Let's go out to OKC and hear from our guy, Robert Cochran. What's up, pal? How are you?
Just in the gym getting my cardio in right now. Figured I'd hop on real quick and say what's up.
Nice, buddy.
Feeling pretty good. A few days off of that USF win.
Nice.
And then, of course, the Thunder have their last preseason game before we get the ball rolling on next Tuesday on Friday. So.
No doubt about it, man. What do you think about that Lightning game last night?
Frustrated, yeah. Man. But I chalk it up to these guys just gotta get it together. They've shown before. Like 04, we went through the slump mid-season and turned it on at the right time. It's an 82 game schedule. It's all about getting hot at the right time. So as long as they can do it, and I believe they can, we'll be all right.
No doubt about it. Robert, I appreciate the phone call, buddy. Have a great rest of your week.
All right, brother.
See you, man. Good stuff as always. Robert Cochran joining us on the program. It's funny. Evan Klosky, our pal, just said, is Jamel Dean going to be an all-pro this season? We were mentioning that yesterday. Remember? We were talking about that on the program yesterday. There's also another thing that I just saw, and it was something to the effect of Scott Strickland, the athletic director for the Florida Gators, hanging out with some big-time boosters, and that a guy like Billy Napier could be gone this weekend. Huh. Interesting. It's only a matter of time. And 2 weeks ago, we said that if they lost the next two games, that I thought he was going to be out on Monday, right? This Monday's coming up, buddy. This Monday's coming up, October 20th. I said earlier this month, that I thought October 20th was the day. I'd be very surprised if on October 20th, Billy Napier was still the head coach of the Florida Gators. We'll see. But we look at USF, and I know that Alex Golish was asked yesterday during his press conference if he was worried about any of the other jobs that are, I mean, you got to think he's going to be one of the big names if Napier gets let go. And he can say that he's only focused on a certain amount of things, and he's only focused on his team getting better. Yeah, I mean, of course he is. But that doesn't mean if the Gators don't come calling. And of course, there's a huge, Florida Gator contingent here in the Tampa Bay area. I mean, it sucks. It sucks that we have to deal with this kind of stuff, but right, we have to deal with it with Josh Grizzard at the Buccaneers level too. When you're offensive coordinators, I mean, that's just part of the name of the game, man. When it comes to business, right? When you do a good enough job, your players, your coaches, your front office guys, they're going to be poached. We've seen that with the Rays in their front office and some of their players and their coaches, right? Remember Rocco Baldelli and Charlie Montoyo and Matt Quatraro. Like, it's just a lot. See with the Buccaneers and seeing that, John Spytek over there with the Raiders in Las Vegas now. And people were wondering, well, Mike Greenberg, is he going to be going back to the Jets? And now you wonder, after losing Dave Canales and Liam Cohen, do you lose a guy like Josh Grizzard to being a head coach of another team? Like, it's fair. It's fair to do it. Oh, you know what really helps? If I send Erik Erlendsson the link, that would help. Sorry, double E. I knew I forgot something. All right, Double E should be joining us here in a second. Getting our coaches poached just means we're having a lot of success. It sucks, but it's better than having coaches no one wants. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you look at a guy like Kyle Trask, who's just getting the tryout, and he's not even right? He's not even playing. He's not even on an NFL team. And you're like, why the hell was he here then? Yeah. So it is what it is, man. Of course, you'd want those guys to stay for as long as humanly possible, to be as successful for as long as possible, but that's not the reality of the situation. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have guys poached. You're going to have coaches poached. You're going to have players. You're going to have front office guys. It's just the nature of the game. But let's hope that Alex Golesh is a guy that stays here for a very long time. And if he does end up moving on, I have the number one candidate that USF should go after. So just remember, I'm not going to give you the name now. But if you're watching, I'm telling you, and I don't say this shit unless I know 100% fact for who it is. And I'm not saying this is the guy that USF is going to hire, but I know one guy that wants the job, and I think that would do a great job. And I think this is the job. It would be the last job that he had. So just remember, if he does move on, the name that you're going to hear, just come here and find it. All right, let's bring him in a little bit earlier than we usually have him. It's our pal, Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com, full of the spoons in the back. What's going on, Double E? How are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Long day today and last night. A lot of hockey, which is never a bad thing. Lightning wrap up their quick back-to-back there with a overtime loss to the Washington Capitals last night. First off, do we have any update on Max Crozier? I know other than, we know he's probably going to miss the next game.
Yeah, no update. The team actually flew home yesterday. They got 2 more road games this weekend, Friday and Saturday, but they came home. They'll practice here in town, then head back out tomorrow afternoon. But I could tell you, if anybody read what I had, somebody sent me the video of, he took an awkward fall at center ice, and it looked like the toe of his skate got hit a rut or something, and the ankle turned in a way that the ankle is not supposed to turn. So I'd be surprised if we see Crozier anytime soon. That's just me speculating and looking at what happened. But those are not good situations, and usually they mean a little bit of missed time. So I would not expect to see Crozier anytime soon.
So is it just as simple as Darren Radish will fill in for him?
I mean, that makes the most sense, right? Radish has been the guy out the past 2 games since J.J. Moser returned, and he's a right-handed shot. So yeah, it makes sense that the simple thing to do is to just bring Radish in and let him go. I mean, have other options though, right? Like you can move J.J. Moser back to the left side, and if you have any interest in bringing anybody up from Syracuse, but they've only played 2 games into their season, so my guess is they just plug Radish right in.
Yeah. And then, when you look at this team defensively and, the games last night, it comes down to just simple mental miscues. When you look at losing guys, Hedman lose the guy on the side of the net. He doesn't get the puck out for the second goal. And then Cirelli just gets caught puck watching on the goal by Chychrun. Is that less concerning or more concerning knowing who made the mistakes and, the ability that they have to clean it up?
Well, you're concerned in the sense of the guys who are making those mistakes, right? I mean,
right.
Victor Hedman knows better, right? You have a 1-goal lead in the third period, right? Killing a penalty. Your first thing has to be get the puck out.
Right.
It's, it's always easy to look, from 200 feet above or watch on TV, and the decision making that has to go into these plays. It's a split second decision, and he sees Jake Gensel potentially going up the ice for a breakaway, right? If he can get that puck out, Gensel's got a breakaway. So I get the thought process, but it's not the right thought process, right? If you're trying to get it to Gensel, bank it off the boards. Put it into an area where there's no risk of the puck getting turned over, right? Because your first order has to be get the puck out. Your second order has to be, okay, if I can make a play, I'll make a play. But
right.
Clearing the puck out is priority number 1 in those situations when you're protecting a lead in the first period. And then on the game-winning goal, it's man-to-man defense in overtime. It's 3-on-3, and you have to know where your man is. And Cirelli's not in a bad place, but he's not in the right place, right? Like he can disrupt that pass. If he can get a stick on that pass, then he has an ability to stop the play. They can finally get possession, and maybe they can go the other way or at least get a change in that. But it's the awareness level. It's the head checks, right? Like I bring this up to Chief all the time. One of the reasons Leo Messi is so great on the pitch, watch his head. It is in constant motion, looking around at everything that's going on. It's a little different. Obviously, soccer is a lot slower paced game than hockey, but it's just awareness and knowing where the danger could be coming from, because, you know, usually the most dangerous player on the ice is the one without the puck, right? Because everybody sees the puck, and, you know, Tom Wilson is not scoring a goal from that side of the ice where he's at. You got to know what's going on behind you. So, and again, that's a guy that we're not used to saying he made a bad defensive read, and he made a bad defensive read in that situation and ends up, you know, costing him the opportunity to get a second point. We don't know how things would have went in overtime, but you took that opportunity away because you just weren't aware of what was going on around you. And, you know, you lose the opening faceoff on overtime and you never touch the puck.
Yeah, sounds familiar. Sounds like something that we've seen the last couple of years. You know, I look at, you know, the play of Nikita Kucherov and, you know, a couple of goals in the opener, but he's really struggled in the games, you know, after that. You know, it seems like they got a little bit of an injection of energy with Hagel on that line, but at times they just get too pass happy and they're not shooting the puck at the net. I wonder what you think about Nikita Kucherov as far as like how his game is going to age, because he's not a guy that's going to, you know, when he's defensive, I would say it's more by guile and more by being slick, lifting the puck off. You know what I mean? Like, it's not because he's in there grinding and he's going to hit a bunch of people. Like, I'm curious how you think his game is going to age, because when he loses a step, because we all end up losing a step, does he end up trying to force those passes too much? And we saw it in the game. What was the game against New Jersey, right? Where, you know, the pass back and it's like it leads to the breakaway and they score, and that just took the wind out of the sails. And we know he's a guy that wears his emotions on his sleeve. And I just wonder how that is going to go these next couple of years, and if he can continue to play at a high level. But what happens if he doesn't?
Well, to me, the thing about Nikita's game is it's his brain, right? And because he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't rely on being a guy to go dig in the corners. He's not a guy who's relying on the pace of his play, because he slows the game down in other ways where he's not skating. So as long as the brain is still functioning at a high level, then Nikita Kucherov will still be effective. I mean, what is he, 31 years old, 32? Like, he's not. It's like we're sometimes I think we're caught in between this being a young man's game and saying 30-year-olds are too old to play the game, right? And 33, 34. I mean, every individual is different, and you can't paint, you know, a broad stroke with individual players based on their age. It's based on how they play. And with Nikita, you know, like, we know all the work he puts in the summer. You know, basically it starts 2 weeks after the end of the regular season or the end of the playoffs when he starts to get back on the ice and work on things. So for me, the way he processes the game, as long as that continues to be at his elite level, he will continue to be an effective player. I think just what we're seeing here in the early stages of the season is just bad habits, right? He knows, like, how many passes he sent across the top of the zone. Right. And, you know, just get picked off. Now, the one against Jersey was a lazy pass. It was a backhander. He was trying to get it to Radish, and it's too slow of a pass. It's not anything other than that, at a bad area of the ice, right? And that's just where he has to get himself out of those habits, which he can get into. I mean, he's been benched for it before. It's been a couple of years, but he's been benched for it before by John Cooper. So he just has to get those out of his mind, and just I think a lot of what we've seen here through 4 games is just decision-making not being the right decisions. And that, to me, is just creating habits.
This team has just been absolutely horrible when it comes to face-offs. It was better last night than it was in the previous game. But, you know, you and I spoke about the reason why Jack Finley was on this roster. And, you know, he's out there for that 3-on-5 in the preseason. We saw how many face-offs he was winning. Surprised that he has been scratched as much as he has early on this season, knowing that one of the things that he really does well is something that they're suffering with.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't know yet that he does it well. You know, we've seen samples of it, right? In the preseason, he's not facing Nico Hischier, right? He's not facing Elias Lindholm on a regular basis. So, you know, we don't know. We think he can be good at it. But until you get out there and have those opportunities, we don't know the answer to that question yet. But I think with Curtis Douglas coming in and being acquired on waivers, like you kind of know who Jack Finley is as a player right now. You need to find out who Curtis Douglas is. You need to make a decision because Nick Paul's coming back. And there are roster decisions that are going to have to be made when Nick Paul is ready. You know, he's still at least a couple of weeks away. And, you know, we'll see what the Crozier injury does if they put him on IR or anything like that. But with Douglas, you got to find out if he can play. And, you know, you look at opening night, you know, against McDermott, you know, big, heavy guy. You know, Douglas got his fight and kind of introduced himself. McDermott gave him that. You know, the game against Jersey, there wasn't one of those guys in the lineup. So
right.
Finley gets in, but then Boston had Tanner Jeannot and Nikita Zadorov. And then last night you had Tom Wilson. So, you know, I think some of that plays into the roster and who's in the game. But I also think a lot of it comes down to, you need to find out, can Curtis Douglas play at the NHL level? Can he be somebody that you can put out there in situations that are more than just for fighting? I mean, that's obviously a big part of who he is and in his identity as a player. You know, so I think that's just the early season process to try and find out who Douglas is, because I think like Finley's not going anywhere. Right? I've already seen people say, why is he not playing? They need to send him down to Syracuse. Well, let me tell you, if Jack Finley goes on waivers, you lose him. He's a 6'6" right-hand shot centerman. He's not making it through waivers. So he's not going anywhere anytime soon. So you can just, you know, take that thought out of your head if you're on board with that situation. But he'll get in the lineup. I would imagine he plays on Friday in Detroit. Detroit doesn't have any of those kind of guys on their lineup and their roster that you would want a Curtis Douglas. And so I would think that we'll see Finley Friday for sure.
Yeah, I just, you know, I feel like we get to a point. I think we had this conversation last year too. Like, we're so ingrained into the Tampa Bay Lightning being a successful organization and how well that they've, you know, done the last, you know, decade, 15 years or whatever. But I feel like there's some things where we maybe need to take a step back and like think maybe they're not making the right decision. You know what I mean? Not to be like pessimistic, but it's just like, I understand what you're saying. But if you have guys on the roster purely for that, we've talked about how there's like no spot for goons anymore. So like,
right,
you're going to bring in a guy like this. Like, the reason why the Lightning were good in 20 and 21 is because like Pat Maroon was on your team. Like, he played regardless of who the opponent was. So if you have guys like, and I understand the versatility aspect of it, but I just feel like, you know, what if you're doing Jack Finley's career a disservice by trying to find out with a fourth line guy that you picked up off of waivers off of Utah? You know what I mean? Like, why do you need that game time to tell you what Curtis Douglas is all about? Like, nothing that I've seen. He's a guy, you saw it last night. Like, I don't know if he's going to give you much offensively, right? We know that he can scrap. We know that he's a big guy. Like, do we really need to see that in game situations during the regular season where you talk about so much about munching points early on? And yes, we don't know if he's going to be good against Lindholm or Recher, but shit, man, you put him in. Like, you and I both thought that the way that they were deploying Jack Finley in the preseason was almost a precursor of how they were going to use him, at least to a some degree, right, in the regular season. And now you're telling me that you're scratching him for all but one game? Like, that can't be good. And I know guys have to be resilient. They're professional athletes, but I don't know, man. There's just something about this where I just like, you know, it kills me to see Connor Geekie on the fourth line. He's out there, he's shooting the puck. He's got more top end ability than most of the guys, I think, up front. And he's out there playing on the fourth line. And I understand he's a young kid. You want to go. At sometimes I feel like we got to start thinking outside the box a little bit more. When Coop does it and he mixes his lines up, we're like, oh, wow, that's a great idea. I don't know, man. I'm just kind of caught in between the whole thing of not just blindly trusting everything that the Tampa Bay Lightning do, but also understanding that there is a process to this entire thing.
Well, that's the word right there, process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's an 82-game season, soon to be 84-game season, but it's an 82-game season. And you have to find out some early season answers, right? And Nick Paul's injury has allowed you the opportunity to kind of experiment, for lack of a better word, with some things. And one of those is Curtis Douglas. Like, you have to find out maybe he can be Pat Maroon. But like until you see him in some games, you don't have that answer. And let's face it, the clock is ticking on trying to have to make that decision. That doesn't mean Jack Finley's not going to be a regular for the entire rest of the season. We're only 4 games in, and I know he's only played one of them. But like if you bring in a guy who, like, let's face it, in today's game, fighting is not as prevalent, but it still factors, and intimidation is a factor. And when you have a guy like Douglas on your bench, it makes everybody a little bit taller, in John Cooper's words. He's used that many times through the past. Everybody's a little bit, a couple inches taller on the bench.
He said that about Tanner Jeannot, right? I mean, he said that about but my point, Ian, I get exactly what you're saying is, right? But like at the end of the day, the last 3-4 postseasons, you lost in the first round. So like, shouldn't there be a different way to look at? That's what I'm saying. Like I know, because
isn't this a different way to look at it? Because it hasn't worked. Because you didn't have that guy. Look, what's the one criticism that so many people had about that series against the Panthers? Well, you got run over. So what are they doing? They're reacting not to fans, but they see that too. So they're trying to put themselves into the situation. Can this guy be somebody that can play and be an intimidating factor on our bench, on our ice, so that if somebody goes out and clocks Brandon Hagel, you have somebody that can answer it, or at least maybe even curb that thought, right? That's what this is all about. And that's what I'm saying. It's too early to start thinking, well, this is how things are going to be the entire season. Things always change throughout the course of a season. But if you're going to, because they don't have anybody in their system that can be that intimidator, right? That's why they brought in Scott Sabrin, right? In case they need that during the regular season, they could bring him up. Now, we all saw what happened in the preseason with the Panthers, but they are trying to find out if this can be a guy who just gives everybody else a little bit more freedom on the ice. Because to your point, Pat Maroon could play when he was here. Luke Shen could play when he was here. You know, so now you have to find out, can Curtis Douglas be a guy who can play? And you have to make that decision sooner rather than later. And the only way to make that decision fairly to him and to your team is to get him in the lineup and see how he can perform, right? Because, if Paul comes back in 2 weeks, you've only got 2 players right now on this roster that do not require waivers. Now, Phoenix Copley comes into this, and, we'll see how long they sit with 3 goaltenders. But, the only 2 guys who do not require waivers to go down are Connor Geekie and Max Crozier, and now Crozier's hurt, right? So now you really only have one guy to open up a roster spot if you need it, because they're carrying 23, and that guy is Connor Geekie. So you have to make this decision. You have to find out if Douglas is there. So, we overreact in hockey so fast, right? Mm-hmm. Like we overreact to an 0-2 start when there's still 80 games left in the season. We overreact to a 2-0 start when there's still 80 games left in the season, right? So there is a process that you kind of have to go through. As we say, you don't really find out who your team is usually until beginning of November to Thanksgiving. That's kind of the time frame where you really figure out who your team is, what your team is, and what you feel you might need to address any situations. And, Finley will get his opportunities. This is not an indictment against Jack Finley in any way. This is, we need to find out if Curtis Douglas can play this game and do more than just fight.
Yeah, I guess my big thing, brother, is just like they tried this a couple years ago with Tanner Jeannot, and they spend all this stuff, and it's like, you bring in a guy just for that, and you spend all these draft picks, he goes out there and really doesn't do much, and you thought you were going to get more offensively from him. I get that, but
look how much Tanner Jeannot has been in demand since. The Bruins saw he signed a $3 million contract with the Bruins.
Yeah, but I mean, are they going to be Are they going to
probably not?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
he's still a player that's in demand.
I know, I get it, E, but I think that may be the wrong way to go about it, because
I don't disagree with you.
Because the 2020-2021 Lightning, because all we can use is the teams that won it all, right? Because at the end of the day, you need to compare yourself to the champions. This team has championship pedigree. It's not about making the playoffs. Like, nobody wants to see the Lightning just make the playoffs. They want to see them win a cup. They set the bar that high, not us. They did. And in those years, we didn't say, well, they lack toughness. The whole team was tough, right? The third line was the grinders. Yanni Gord was considered one of the guys that was a scrapper, and Goodrow and Coleman. We remember Acemont fighting Braden Point. Remember Sorelli getting in scraps. So I feel like when you're depending on one player to set that tone, I think you're already lost, because it has to be an entire mindset. Because if it's the Florida Panthers don't go, let's bring in a tough guy. No, they got Bennett does it. Kachuk does it. Ekblad does it. This guy does it. That guy does it. I mean, if it doesn't permeate throughout your entire team, I think you're in trouble trying to try out a guy in your fourth line, thinking that that's going to be the end all be all, whether you're going to
don't know the answer
on the bench or not.
You don't know that's why you have to find out.
But you already
have
did
to
it with
find
Tanner
out the
Jr.
answer.
But the answers that we're asking for John Cooper, we already had those, because what you just said about sitting taller on the bench is exactly what he said about Tanner Jeannot. And fine, you stood up taller on the bench. You know what that got you? A first round exit. Right? So I mean, it's like, it's more than just, all right, standing up taller on the bench and having more confidence. It can't just be one guy. It's got to be an entire mindset for your team.
But a player like that can set that tone. Pat Maroon set that tone. Right? They kind of took on his attitude. Now, we know Pat's a pretty good talker and a trash talker, especially on the ice. So guys were kind of behind that a little bit in terms of the way they played. And you're right, because when you see Carter Verhaeghe delivering dirty hits, he's kind of bought into the Florida Panthers, but look, I mean, JJ Moser has brought a different grit to his game, starting in preseason and here, like, he's led the team in ice his first 2 games back on back-to-back nights. He's led the team in ice time, and both because he's brought a grittier game, right? But like, you don't want Brandon Hagel being that guy. He'll do it. He's not the biggest guy. You don't want him doing it. You really don't even want Anthony Sorelli doing it. Like, he can do it, but you don't want him doing it, right? So it can permeate with one guy. It can be a, and like when Coop says 2 inches taller on the bench, it gives you the confidence to go out and be that kind of a player too, if and when the situations arise, right? And that's what that preseason 2 games against the Panthers were about. Even the game against Ottawa to start, and we saw the fight between Douglas and McDermott. Lilleberg got into a fight. There were a lot of scuffles. Jack Finley taking that roughing penalty against the Devils. Again, I think that they will take that penalty all day long because it sets that tone. So Douglas is just the guy who's kind of the police, if you will, in those situations, to say, hey, if you go after our guy, I'm coming after your guy. That's what it's all about in that terms. But to your point, and I've said this many times as well, you can't just be that guy. You have to bring more to the ice. And that's what I'm saying. You don't know if Douglas can bring that to the ice beyond what he's here for. And you have to have those answers before you can make decisions moving forward.
Double E, I know you got to roll. I got to ask you one quick question about Andrei Vasilevsky. There's people that are worried. He's 0-3 so far this season. How much blame do you put on the shoulders of Andrei Vasilevsky for him being 0-3 to start this 2025-26 season?
I thought he was great last night.
Any concerns about him at all?
Not from what I've seen. I mean, the fact that Copley is still here kind of gives you an idea that the Lightning are still trying to feel their way through this with all the time he missed. In terms of his play on the ice, I think he's been pretty sharp. I don't know if he's been as quick post to post as we're used to seeing from him. Like I said, he got fooled a little bit on the first goal last night. He tracked the puck behind the net, and sometimes that happens with goalies. But I thought he was great. I mean, the stop he made on Chychrun right at about a minute to go in regulation last night was a fantastic save. He made a couple of really good stops in the game against Ottawa to allow them to keep that game tied. I thought he was really good against New Jersey for the most part. I mean, I can't sit here and sit back and look at any goal that's scored against him and say, that's a bad goal, right? I haven't seen any of those yet. I'm trying to think back. There was a deflection in there somewhere. While the one against New Jersey that went off of Crozier's skate, right? Like, you can't
screen tip and off of Crozier.
Yeah. So no, and it's just, again, a 3-game sample size from a guy who didn't play hardly anything in the preseason, and really the 40 minutes he got in preseason were in a joke of a game, down there in Sunrise. So he didn't get the real feel for the game. I haven't seen anything that makes me think he's dropped. His level has dropped. We don't know what was bothering him or what he needed to be managed during training camp, but I haven't seen anything yet to this point that tells me that there should be concern with him. But again, we'll have to monitor it, keep going forward here.
E, what do you got up on lightninginsider.com right now, buddy?
Hey, from last night, I've kind of started this theme of picking out some musical artists. I'm a big music guy, as you know, and kind of integrating that into some of the recaps. So, Train was last night, Billy Joel was Monday, Olivia Newton-John was last weekend. So I'm trying to just be a little bit more creative in how I do this and integrating themes amongst the game recap. So that's what's up there right now. Again, the team is back in practice tomorrow before they head out for the final 2 games of the road trip. And just to give everybody heads up, I will not be around on Saturday. I'll be around on Friday, but I will not be around on Saturday. My oldest son, for some reason, picked an October Saturday to get married. So he's getting married in Orlando. So I will not be around for Saturday's game, but I'll be around for Friday.
Well, congratulations, man. That's really awesome. It's going to be
you.
weird not seeing you in the press box there, but totally understand, if you're going to miss a game, that's a pretty good reason to do so. lightninginsider.com. Use that promo code J&Z. Get $10 off, not just this year, but every recurring season after that. Follow him on Twitter /X, Erik_Erlendsson. That's a K, not a C, 2 S's after the D. Erik, appreciate it, my friend. I will we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, buddy. All
right. Sounds good. And thanks for accommodating me today.
You got it, buddy. Anytime. The one and only Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. I love our chats, man, because it's not just a back and, question, answer. Like, I got questions for Double E. I got questions for my man. Bro, you got to see this picture. Eddie, you crazy son of a gun. Dude. Eddie, you got to let me post this on social media. You got to let me do it, buddy. This is amazing. Eduardo Harada, our guy. Eddie, come on, dude. Have you guys seen this? Dude. Look at this, dude. Come on, bro. That's so sick. Eddie, you're the man, dude. This is freaking awesome. Is that just like Chat GPT? Unbelievable, bro. Eddie, I'm going to save that picture. I'll, of course, credit you on all social media platforms. But I'm going to put this out. I'm going to put it like, I'm going to do like something. I'm going to put like a picture of me in the, I'm going to do something with, shit. Man, my brain is just like, it's the spinning right now of what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some of the video that we did yesterday, me and Matt Matera from Pewter Report. I'm going to put this picture on there. I'll tag you. Oh my God, this is going to be so freaking awesome, bro. I can't wait. I almost want to like stop the show just so I can do that, man. That's freaking awesome. Dude, this is great. Nobody out there, like, don't repost this yet. I was going to say, Eddie, delete that. You know what? Do that, Eddie. Do that. Text me that picture. Delete it off Twitter because I don't want anybody to, because I want to make like a whole thing to put it on there. And then I'll put that picture with the caption and I'll put your name on it and everything. That's the best way to go about it. So if you can do that, just delete that post and then send it to me on DM on Twitter. And then we'll go from there. Because, bro, that's sick. Freaking awesome. Just like Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. Oh, look at Sean King just hit me up. Former Buccaneers. Great. So cool, man. Mayfield 316. Oh, my God. Great stuff there for with our guy, Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. And the Kucherov thing really gets me. It really does. It's just... It I don't know that it bothers. Maybe it bothers me. It's just tough, man. It's tough when you watch him out there and he's just like kind of skating around. Because I don't look at it when I'm watching sports. And I get this from my dad and I get this from my grandfather because they were coaches, right? They coached. When I watch sports, and especially my two mains, right? As much as I love football and I love basketball, right? And soccer somehow has become probably my favorite sport to watch now. I mean, baseball and hockey are the two sports that course through my veins. Because I played them at the highest, baseball and hockey, the two sports that I played the higher levels, the highest level of the sports I played. And when I watch these sports and I watch the way that the players do what they do, like when they do certain things, I don't look at it as a fan. I don't even look at it as a media member. I look at it as a coach. And I go like, what would I think if I was coaching that player, right? And a lot of it has to do with your attitude. Like my dad would always say that, right? Treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't do anything to anybody else you wouldn't want done to yourself, right? Just don't fall in line with everybody else. Think about a different perspective. Think from a different point of view. When everybody else is hopping on somebody and being super negative, or even people that are being super positive, like look at things from a different angle. Things may not always be what they seem. And when I look at Nikita Kucherov, and again, I want the guy to do well, but I just like I see a guy who's got his disposition on the ice at times is just, it's so like his body language is so poor, and he makes some of these just incredibly boneheaded mistakes where it's not like, Jameis. Remember when Jameis, Jameis is out there gunslinging. He's out there trying to throw the ball down the field, and sometimes he throw it to the other team. Like sometimes Cooch is just like it's just the backhanded pass to Radish. It was just like, ugh. And then Radish gets caught flat-footed, and then boom, back the other way, breakaway and score. And it's just like, and like Erik just said, like he's gotten sat on the bench before, and we look at all these other players like. I don't remember McDavid getting sat for lack of effort or right. Like I don't remember McKinnon. We certainly didn't see that from Crosby in his career or Ovechkin, right? Like it's weird, but because the highs are so high. And then people look at it like, oh yeah, you're just picking at the negative. And I'm like, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not picking at the negative all the time, but it's just like, you have to see that stuff. You can't ignore it. And that's why I asked E the question of like, as you get older, and let's say he's not scoring 130 points a season, like, is the trade-off still going to be worth it? Because right now it is. But is that going to age gracefully? I don't know. We can put up with a little bit of deteriorating skills when guys get older. We see that with Levante Davies. We saw it with Derek Brooks, right? You see it maybe a little bit with a guy like Victor Hedman now. Like, you understand that. We understand, but as long as the guys are giving a full effort and they're leaving it all on the line and they have a good attitude and they're being a good teammate, right? Like, as long as they're doing everything else, you can kind of like, all right, we get it. But there's just something sometimes when you're just watching Cooch and you just like, there's a lot of people in the Tampa Bay area, and I know the coaches do that too. Like, I wonder what those conversations are like behind closed doors. Like, they'll never go out and say it because, right, you don't want to crap all over your best player. You don't want to crap all over your guy that personally, individually works his ass off. We get that. But there's just those moments, right? There's moments where you go, again, we said it yesterday, Manny being Manny. He looks so miserable and so angry all the time. And I just like, sometimes I just want to say to him or like, look at him like, Cooch, bro, you're one of the best in the world. You could still work your ass off, but like, enjoy it, man. We saw it when you won the Stanley Cups. Like, dude, number one bullshit. We want to cheer for you. But he's lucky that he's not in another market, because other people in other markets that are super pessimistic, like, think about it. Who is the hardest media member on Nikita Kucherov in the Tampa Bay area? Who has legitimately said something that questioned some of his play? You don't hear it very often. You don't. And then I'm the bad guy. I'm the dick. Like, I'm not trying to be like that. I don't want it to be. The Lightning are so great to me. And the times that I have talked to Cooch, like really talked to him, have been fantastic. I've never said, and it's not personal. Of course it's not. I want the guy to do well. I want happiness for him. It's got to be more. It's got to be more. Benny says it too. Like, Stammer was the only person who could get through to Cooch. And what I heard in the past of like, Kucherov, when he came up, was so, everything he did was to make sure that he was like trying not to impress, but like, he held Stamkos in a very high regard, and he always wanted to act a certain way or do a certain thing. And it's good. Like, you want to impress the vets, you want to impress the captain, you want to impress the face of the franchise. So that's another reason why, and not a lot of people want to talk about it, is when Stammer goes, you put more of that leadership and you put, it's just different. It's a different environment when he's not there. When you have more guys that can keep you in check and hold you accountable, like, think about it. If you are you hear this a lot. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. You need people that check you. You need people that can, hey, you got to do this better. You got to do this better. Who's saying that to a guy like Nikita Kucherov right now? Right? We don't know. We don't know. What we do know is that the Los Angeles Dodgers are just absolutely crushing it right now. 2 wins in the NLCS. Eddie, make sure you send me that picture. I heard you. I saw you take it down. That's great. Make sure you send it to me on DMs on Twitter or on Instagram, just so I can have it. But shout out to the Los Angeles Dodgers, 2-0 now. And listen, not taking anything away from the Mariners as they are up 2-0. The ALCS returns to Seattle in the Pacific Northwest tonight with the M's with a commanding 2-0 lead. But I look at the Dodgers, and even with Ohtani finally playing better last night, like, they're going to win the World Series again, right? It's October 15th. I could have told you on April 15th. Dave Roberts, and you saw that funny thing that he said on Fox the other night to Derek Jeter when he said that the Brewers reminded him of that Marlins team that beat the Yankees with Josh Beckett and Miguel Cabrera because they did all the little things. You remember Juan Pierre was on that team. They could bunt. They played good defense. They ran the bases well. And he said the same thing. That's what the Brewers do. That's all fine and dandy. But when you're the Dodgers, like, you're certainly not the, the underdog. You're certainly not the little engine that could either. And when you go out there and you can play as well as you did through 2 games, and you're getting timely hits from Pages and Ohtani, and you still have Betts and Freeman, you are the odds-on favorite. But what Dave Roberts has done, and a little of this, oh, Eddie, I got to follow you. That's the problem. Hold on, Eddie. Hold on, pal. Eddie, hold on, Eddie. Try it again, Eddie. Hold on. Can. Try it again, Eddie. Send that thing away. Yeah, try to get on Twitter. All right. So the other thing is, what was I just talking about? Oh, Dave Roberts, and partially has to do with, I'm sure, his bullpen not being great, having to put Roki Sasaki in there for game 1 and finally going to Blake Trinan. He's letting his starters go. Letting Blake Snell go 8. Letting Yoshinobu Yamamoto last night go with a complete game. That's old school baseball. And I really wish that we saw more of that. We have this weird thing with the number 100. And it's like, oh, they get 100. We got to get rid of those guys. It's just the number. And especially with the postseason time, like, now's the time, like, stretch those guys out. And I'm not saying throw 175 pitches, but, we shouldn't be so quick to get rid of 95. Everybody starts freaking out. Like, a guy should be able to throw 120 pitches and be okay. And especially if you're understanding what type of pitches the guy's throwing. And when I say that, I'm not saying what type of pitches when it comes to fastball, curveball, changeup, slider, and stuff like that. I'm talking about leverage. If the guy is throwing pitches in every single one, all right, got it, Eddie. Thank you, brother. Every single one of those pitches, right, is out of the stretch, 3-2 counts, everything. It's just a lot. I get it. Then you take him out. The guy's sweating his ass off. But if the guy's just kind of moseying right along and he's pitching, a lot of the pitches are out of the windup. He's not really pitching that much out of the stretch. Let the guy go. Too many times we've seen it. And hell, we're cursed here in the Tampa Bay area. People still bring that shit up with Kevin Cash and Blake Snell. Like, we're so worried about guys like, oh my God, he's coming close to the 3rd time through the lineup. And oh my gosh, he's coming so close to throwing 95 pitches. Like, dude, Trust your eyes. Trust your eyes. If they're struggling throwing strikes, if they're having trouble hitting this guy, picking up the pitches, don't help. What I want to see, if I'm in a lineup, right, and I'm not hitting a guy, I don't want to say, this is how hitter's mindset is. A hitter's mindset isn't, let me get another crack at that guy. The mindset is, damn, bro, I don't know what I did. Like, we're trying to figure this thing out. And if they go to the bullpen, you go, good. No hitter that's 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts goes, fourth time coming up, the luck's going to be on my side. So glad the guy's still out there. Hell no. You bring in a new pitcher, you're like, shit, I'm glad that guy's gone. That's the way it goes. I don't understand why the thought process is anything other than that. You get these geeks that have never, ever picked up a baseball. They don't know the difference between a 4-seam, a 2-seam, an in-seam. Crazy. And those are the guys that are telling us how baseball should be played. It's bullshit, man. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. What does make sense to me is my friends over at Honest Hammer Custom Builders, my guy Russ and the crew over there. Let's check out the website real quick. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Realest guy in the room. How you doing? Services, our portfolio estimates about us, schedule product contact. Again, 813-244-0956. Look how clean this website is with all of the work that Russ and the crew at Honest Hammer have been able to do. Listen, let's not forget, they give a discount as well to those who keep our people safe and healthy. Firefighters, military, police, and nurses. 5% discount for any projects with Honest Hammer Custom Builders. Why hire them? Why not? Right? Licensed and insured Florida general contractor, CGC 153-1166. No project too big, no project too small. You're looking for your kitchen or bathroom remodel, newer commercial construction. You have a plot of land. You got a new custom home, interior and structural renovations. Listen, this is the team for you. Honest Hammer Custom Builders, thehonesthammer@gmail.com, thehonesthammer.com. Tell them that you heard it right here on the J Recher podcast. Get you a discount for saying that you heard it right here. Go check them out on social media too, man. With the Honest Hammer, Russ has done such a great job of keeping everybody up to date with some of their new custom builds and seeing almost that he hasn't done what they call the time lapse video, but just go through, which is fine. Like, obviously, you can't expect to have a camera out there for months, but just to see the different videos and see how the projects have come along. You're not going to do things like that if you're doing any shady type of business. He's not like that, man. He's a down-to-earth Tampa Bay sports fan, just like you. Huge fan of the folks over there, my guy Russ, over at The Honest Hammer. Again, thehonesthammer.com. Give them a call today, 813-244-0956. Tell them that you heard it right here on the J Recher podcast. Also, my friends over at Evra Health. Look at all the different services that they have here. Sports medicine, telehealth, they can help you out there. Podiatry, nutrition, infusion, family planning, chiropractic, women's health, behavioral health, dental. They have got it all for you. 17 different locations in the Tampa Bay area. They don't want to be your last resort. They want to be your first resort. A lot of people think with the stigma of a quote unquote free clinic, they're not a quote unquote free clinic, even though this is pretty cool. Even though that they take you if you don't have insurance, there's a sliding scale for your copay there. They take all kinds of insurance there. Sometimes you hear stuff like that and there's a negative connotation. Oh, it's a free clinic. It must be dirty. It must have people that aren't really qualified, and they're just not like that at all. Clean as a whistle. I walked through the halls. I walked through the halls and I seen it all. There wasn't any door that they left locked that I couldn't see what was going on. And everybody was so happy and working together. There's a pharmacy there on the campus. And then, of course, the Ever Health Institute, a trade school there. If you want to be one of the professions, and I always write the professions down, so I want to make sure I don't want to leave any of them out. medical assistant, dental assistant, behavioral health tech, radiation tech, pharmacy tech. Go to their school. You're looking for a career. You have your son or your daughter that wants to get into the medical field in some form or fashion. The EverHealth Institute is the way to go. It's a similar path to what I used to get to where I'm at today. I went to a trade school. I went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I went there for 8 months, and then before you know, an internship at WDAE. Boom. There you go. There you go. Everhealth.org. Go there. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Really, really good stuff there. All right. First off, when it comes to USF, make sure, guys and girls, make sure. All right. Make sure you guys are smart when it comes to USF and go support them homecoming. Go USFBulls.com. Go get your tickets today. Support them in their homecoming game against FAU. We got to be there. We got to be there. We got to help them out. I'll be there Saturday night, right? Will I be there Saturday night? I don't know if I'll be there. Lightning. Depends on, I don't know where the heck I'm going to be at. My schedule, I don't even know. I know my schedule today. That's it. This Saturday, I'll be there. Next Saturday, of course, I'll be at Amalie Arena. This Saturday, the Bolts do play Columbus in Columbus, but I will be there at Raymond James Stadium for homecoming. It is USF and FAU. We need you there, man. We need to pack Ray J. Please, please. Go USFBulls.com. Go get you some tickets today. Support the green and gold as they venture through this incredible American Conference schedule and hopefully represent, that group of fun. College football playoff. You got to walk before you run. All right. So with that being said, vibes are at an all-time high when it comes to Tampa Bay football. When it comes to USF and the excitement with their team, the excitement with just the entire athletic program, but football, obviously, we know that leads the way. With Byron Brown, with Coach Golish, with Mac Harris and Jalen Schuler, with the new CEO of athletics and Rob Higgins. It's exciting. Talking about a top 25 team in the country, incredible wins over Boise State and Florida. And I've seen people go back in the discourse about the win over Florida. I don't give a shit what Florida looks like right now. And I'm going to tell you this right now and clip it. I don't give a shit what you do. Okay? College football, what people are so caught up in is looking back on wins and losses and either saying they're more important than they were at the time or less important at the time. At that time, okay? At that time, you're facing a team in that time. So at that time, people looked at Florida as, okay, that's a tough place to play. DJ Lagway, Billy Napier, some of the top recruits in the state in Florida and beyond, and USF went in there and got the win. You're not worried about how Florida is going to look like at the end of the season. When you talk about wins, you're talking about wins at that time. And at that time, that team was ranked at a certain level, at a certain position. And the confidence was there. And everybody believed, and nobody believes more than the teams that actually lace them up and go out there on the field. When you're talking about the season as a whole, all right, fine. You can say about a certain team that they were good or bad, or they had their ups or they had their downs. But to act like wins aren't as impressive as times go on, teams change. You can't go back and not win or not lose certain games based on what happens later on in the schedule. That's revisionist history. You can't do that. Florida State's win over Alabama isn't less impressive now or more impressive now because of where those two teams have gone. At that time, Florida State was the better team on that day. In the grand scheme of things, when you go later on in the season and you're talking about rankings and that's a completely different conversation. But to act like USF shouldn't be happy or that win at that time wasn't impressive, it doesn't make sense. You weren't dealing with the Florida of now then, right? Because you could say, oh, yeah, well, Florida lost to Texas A&M, blah, blah, blah. But now Florida's beating Texas, who just beat Oklahoma, the number 6 team in the country. So, but that doesn't have anything to do with it either. Every team, every single week, it's a different battle. It's a different battle. You go out there, it's never an easy time to win in the swamp. Ever. Never an easy time to win in the swamp. So you're telling me that if USF goes out there the next couple of weeks and they win, like it's an impressive win over Memphis, an impressive win over Navy if they're able to do it. I had the Florida win. I'll always have the Florida win. You're talking about doing something that is, you've never been able to do, and you want people to feel bad for that? That ain't happening. That ain't happening. If you're talking about a complete season resume for a team, that's one discussion. But it's a completely different discussion entirely, in my opinion, if you're talking about whether a game in a certain week at that time was impressive or not, because teams change week by week by week. You're not able to carry that stuff over. It doesn't matter. Look at Texas. Look at Oklahoma. Does anybody care? Does the Texas win over Oklahoma mean less because they lost to Florida? No. You won a rivalry game against a top 6 team at that time. It's an impressive win. Just like Florida beating Texas, who's got good players, that's an impressive win too. It's just weird how we bend the rules and we bend how we feel about certain teams and certain players and certain programs based on whether it's historical reference or whatever fits our own narrative. Dude, they have preseason rankings for a reason. And yes, sometimes it goes by the wayside and you see terrible, you see Penn State and Texas go into the shitter, but you're talking about 2 teams that are littered with talent. Texas with Arch Manning and Steve Sarkisian and all these good players out of one of the biggest states in our country. Penn State coming off a college football semifinal appearance, and Drew Aller, one of the most veteran quarterbacks coming back. Nobody was like, wow, that's such a terrible decision. Sometimes shit happens, man. You go into a tailspin and everything changes. So to act like wins aren't impressive because of future results, that doesn't make sense to me. That's not something I can really correlate, especially in college football, because you're only playing once a week. But I'm telling you right now, if you're a Lightning fan, if you're a USF fan and you're a Bucks fan, there have been signs the last couple of weeks, even though that they've won, that there is a little bit of a cause for concern. And I just want you to make sure, it's not necessarily what the fans need to do. It's what the teams need to do. And that's make sure they're brushing up and playing a cleaner game. The turnovers for USF. Eventually that's going to come back and bite you. Eventually that's going to come back and get you. Eventually you're not going to be able to come back from 3 first half turnovers. Because you're going to play a team that runs the ball well. They keep the ball out of your hands. They're able to stop you, play better defense. You can't keep playing like that. You got to be more disciplined. They gave up 36 points to North Texas as well. Let's not forget about that. They have to be smarter. They have to play the game just all around, 3 facets, better. Clean it up. And that's why I think it's huge that they're playing FAU this weekend and not Memphis. And the same thing with the Buccaneers. And a lot of that has to do with the injuries and what they've had to deal with. But for me, the defense has to get better as well. You got to be able to stop the run. You're going to get challenged. Detroit is one of those teams that keeps you honest. Again, we just had the conversation about the last 2 weeks, right? Do I look at the last couple of games with Detroit and some of the games that they lost and think that they're not as good? No. I still trust them to be a good team. I had them as a playoff team before the season, right? They're a team that if you don't play honest football and you don't play clean football, you're going to lose. You are going to lose. So make sure if you're the Buccaneers, you run the football, you stop the run, and you try to get out in front, because we know the Detroit Lions are a different team when they're playing from behind. It's facts. They're a different team when they're playing from behind. When you know that Jared Goff is going to be throwing the football, that play action doesn't work. You're not able to utilize that two-headed monster in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. They want to get the ball out of the hands fast of Jared Goff, get it in the hands of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams and Sam Laporta. Like, this is a good team. This is a good freaking football team. And the one thing that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been able to do is they've been able to win some of these tough games against teams that are well coached. But you don't want every single game to have to come down to the end where there's, it's a one-score game. Listen, a win's a win. Don't get me wrong. I'll take it however you can get it. But it's almost like you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And we already saw it one time when it caught up to them playing against the Philadelphia Eagles, where the punt block came back to haunt them, and they were chasing the entire game. Love the fact that they started out fast against the team like Seattle, come back to San Francisco, kind of a nice back and forth, and what you were able to do down the stretch, and of course led the way by Baker Mayfield. You lose Emeka Egbuka, and then the second half you're rocking with Sterling Shepard and Tez and Cam, and looking at how many different people contributed to the win. Hopefully you can get a guy like Mike Evans back Monday night against Detroit, and we're not going to know really the entire thing when it comes to the injury report of the Buccaneers, because everything's pushed back a day. So today there was no practice. There's just Zoom calls, with different coaches and players. But tomorrow, I think I have it. Hold on, let me bring it up while I have it right here. I think tomorrow, I know tomorrow Todd Bowles speaks. And I think if not Baker tomorrow, Baker on Friday. So it's a little bit of a different situation for the Bucs, a little bit of a different timing with everything. But I got a lot of faith in the Bucs. I really, really do. I think they're going to do well. But looking at both these teams, you got to clean it up. Clean it up and play quicker, play smarter. If they can do that, they can sustain this level of play. I'm not going to bet against them, that's for sure. Trying to book our guy, Sean King. Been playing phone tag with Sean for the good part of 6 months. He texted me a while ago, I'm coming on, but I was on vacation. That was when I went on vacation over the summer. Man, we're almost up to 170 episodes here on the J Recher podcast. Pretty freaking wild, man. Pretty wild altogether. Beckles and Recher podcast coming up today at 3:00 over at the Dignitary Cafe, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. So make sure you check us out there. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to ask Ian who his best friend is. I know it's Tony Mayberry, but I want to see where I rank on the list, how high up I am on the list. I'm hoping I'm in the top 20, maybe top 20. But we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about what I was just talking about with the Buccaneers, any cause for concern. Tua Tagovailoa. Did you see what Tua said at the press conference after the game the other day? He was discussing about how players were late to players-only meetings and things like that. How do you say something like that? Very strange. Very strange. Oh, man. I don't get it sometimes, man. I don't get it with some of these teams. It's so hard to win in professional sports. It's so hard to win in the NFL when you have guys that are just not working together. And you have things like that. All that does is bring you up and split you apart. I'm sorry, Eddie. I had to bring it up. But things like that don't help. It's hard enough to win. And then you're just fracturing your team when you say things like that. Not good. Again, a big shout out to Jamel Dean on his birthday. Happy birthday to number 35. And what do you get for your birthday? You get named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Incredible job by Jamel Dean. He has been great for the Buccaneers this year. And like I said yesterday, could we be looking at an all-pro season for Jamel Dean? Maybe. But he's going to get paid in the offseason, and we'll see, if that's going to be paid by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You look at it both ways, where He probably took less money to stay with the Bucks last time. This time, does he do the same thing, knowing that like the best of him is brought out when he plays in the top balls defense? Or does he look at it as, hey, this is my last chance to go get a bag. Go get a bag somewhere. Go get a bag somewhere. Why the hell not? All right. To finish the show today, I wanted to finish off with this. Now, now that a couple of days have passed, I wanted to give my 2 cents on Penn State parting ways with James Franklin. And let's start by saying James Franklin is going to be okay. A $49 million buyout. Fire me into the sun for that amount of money. Now, to those who are saying it was a rash decision after a couple of tough weeks, and, look at his record with the Nittany Lions, I hear you. They were number 2 in the nation just a little over 2 weeks before he was fired. He was 104-45 over 11 plus seasons. He won the Big Ten in 2016. He had 5 New Year's 6 bowl appearances, and he was in the college football playoff semifinals just last year. I get it. Again, I hear you. I've been saying for the last year plus that I thought that a school like Penn State benefited the most from the expanded college football playoff because they could lose to a Michigan or Ohio State and still be one of the 12 teams included. Speaking of Michigan and Ohio State, this is where it starts to get ugly for Mr. Franklin. 1-10 against the Buckeyes, with the only win coming back in 2016, and 3-7 against the Wolverines, where the Nittany Lions have lost the last 3. At some point, just being the best of the rest isn't good enough for a school like Penn State, right? Now, this isn't just a plucky upstart program with no history that's just happy to be here amongst the folks at the top of the Big Ten standings. You're supposed to be one of the big boys, contending for national championships year in and year out, not just a fortunate inclusion into the playoff. It's easy to say the next guy has some big shoes to fill. Yeah, I get it. But at a place like State College, you're there to contend, not just to compete. You should have higher aspirations. I look at it like this. Winning a national championship is like marrying the girl of your dreams. I remember sitting with a friend years ago, and he was telling me about this girl he was dating, and she was awesome. We all loved her. She checked all the boxes. But we sat there one day, and he looked at me, and he said, Jay, she's great, but she's not the one. Unfortunately, that's the way it is sometimes. You can do everything in your power to make it work, but sometimes the relationship isn't meant to be. There's a ceiling on the progress. So while James Franklin is a fantastic football coach, he did a lot of great things there. But as far as the relationship with Penn State, he just wasn't the one. So for all the people out there that are looking at him and saying, oh, it was unfair, again, $49 million buyout. He's fine. He'll be fine. But good coaches have gotten fired in the past after good seasons. Remember Tony Dungy, right? 9-7. Only coach with a winning record ever get fired in the history of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Remember Marty Schottenheimer? They were 14-2 one year, the Chargers. They get bounced in the wild card round, and they got rid of them. Sometimes being the best of the rest is just not good enough to the higher ups. You want to contend. You want to contend for championships. That is why you play the game, not just to be here. Hey, happy to be here. That's not the way it goes. And if you don't feel like you're getting any closer and you're getting farther away, you're well within. If you're okay with spending the $49 million, who the hell are we to tell you that you're in the wrong? It ain't our money. Big shout out to our guy, Lady Evil. Greetings from Daytona. Have a great rest of the week. Appreciate you, my friend. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up from me today. Don't forget the Beckles and Recher podcast at 3 o'clock today from the Dignitary Cafe. Come check us out. Should be a fun one there. Follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. A big thank you to our guy, Erik Erlendsson from lightninginsider.com for joining us on the program. Thank you to Honest Hammer. Thank you to Evra Health. Lightinginsider.com. Use that promo code JNZ. Get $10 off, not just this year, but every recurring year after that as well. A lot of great stuff going on the rest of the week. Tomorrow, the EverHealth injury report with our guy, Dr. Rodriguez, at 12:30. Every day, Eddie Encina joins us at 1:30 to talk all things Tampa Bay Lightning as we inch closer to another Lightning hockey night Friday and Saturday. Detroit and Columbus should be fun. And yeah, go get those Bulls tickets, man. Get there Saturday night. Let's support the green and gold at Ray J for homecoming. All right. I love you all. Thank you for the love and the support. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Jay Recher podcast.